one day, when you take a break, we'll not take a break, so that you can see what goes on behind the scenes. The things that I hear here, I don't know what to do with them. I wish they could repeat some of them, or even a fraction of it. Honorable Sohome, you were saying something about the exiting the Jubilee Party, join UDA, and you said that you're not going to use any alliances. How are you convinced?
No, I did not say we are not going to use alliances. I said we will form alliance with the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya, the Hasra movement, is already a movement, and nobody is going to stop or to manage to stop that. You see, they have tried to give it names, but the real truth is there is a Hasra movement that is coalescing around the deputy president. So all these manenos about Jubilee, which is now dead like a dodo, was about stopping the deputy president from having a vehicle that he can use for his presidential campaign. Okay. Now, of course, UDA is causing a lot of shivers because we are in the grassroots recruiting. So when Gachagua possibly says he thinks by, maybe you are saying by December, I think push it to February. There will be people running to every other corner looking for a place to call home in the name of a political party. UDA is is having coordinators, at least in not now, right now, we have managed to reach over 200, maybe actually all the constituencies, and we are busy now recruiting. And you see the police,
so you have money.
Led by Matiang, are busy disrupting ordinary small trainings, because the political party activities...
Before you get into that, you said that you have money to reach all those constituencies. Where from?
Where from? There is UDA Center. UDA Center here in Nairobi is coordinating activities at the ground. You don't need offices.
Okay.
And we have started opening offices. If now the registrar were to go to the grassroots, he will find that one, because it was already a political party that was running, only the name that changed. So members of UDA are opening offices everywhere.
With what money?
Their personal money, contributions. Political parties, incidental formation, and that's why it's very painful when you see political parties being destroyed by individuals, sometimes people like Tuju and Morathe. I would quote those ones because they are in our party. We use our own money. We even run Jubilee. We pay 10,000 every month to run Jubilee.
Even though some have said that they are...
Almost 182
some have
members.
Some have said that they have reduced their subscription.
Just the other day, yes. We cut it from 10,000 to 500 because they don't call us for tea, they don't call us for meetings, so why would you continue giving them money? So in short, all these activities you see are being managed by individuals. Aspirants who are interested,
so the 9,500
aspirants who are interested, they buy caps, they buy t-shirts. Even these people are doing the same, actually.
So I'm asking, out of the 10,000, 500 shillings is still going to Jubilee. How about the 9,500?
It is going to our self-help group, because now we need self-help.
Under UDA?
Under UDA, we are doing our own self-help.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Let me take it.
So 9.5 is going to other activities, not necessarily UDA.
All right,
but we are still giving our party 500.
I hear you. SG Sifuna, so there's that accusation that Jubilee is dead or partially
dead.
Because partially dead. You're either dead or
not. I thought that question was...
No, I raised it with you. SG Sifuna, so with all that claim, then what strength do you gain by forming a coalition with the Jubilee Party and leaving other pre-existing parties that probably are still solid as they were in 2017?
I think it is a very interesting conversation because people want to cry our tears. If indeed we are making a mistake, getting into an arrangement that is not beneficial for us, then it is really our funeral. I don't understand why people are mourning greater than the bereaved. What we do with coalition building, Sam, is that you undertake an analysis and you look at where you have been and where you can be. We, as ODM, in fact, the first task that I did when I was appointed as SG was to put together a task force that actually spoke to our supporters across the country. They were very categorical that ODM supporters have been traumatized in the two coalitions, CORD and NASA, and that they don't want to go through that experience again. Whatever value, you know, I am not a member of Jubilee, and the two of them know better. But we have made the calculation that, in fact, there is greater value to be achieved through a cooperation with a coalition agreement with Jubilee than the existing arrangement that was killed by our partners on 30th of January in 2018. So what we are saying is we have begun a conversation, and I want to make it clear to my brother Manzo that the discussion that has begun is for purposes of the 2022 election. It is not a now thing. You know, for them, they got into this cooperation agreement that he doesn't want to explain to you has resulted in, you know, direct benefit to their party leader. I think he was appointed some envoy somewhere. And what that cooperation agreement is, I liken it to these land speculators who know that probably a road is going to pass here, and they want that road to find them there. If you listen to what he said over the weekend in church, he was sounding like he's the one welcoming us to the Jubilee side, because essentially he's a land speculator who bought land there and waited for the road to pass there. What we want to make clear is that the conversation we've begun with our brothers in Jubilee is for a coalition agreement between the Jubilee Party and ODM. There will be only two principles in this new coalition, because we have to learn from our past mistakes. I think what we have done in the past very wrongly.
So those two principles are Raila Odinga,
the party leader of Jubilee, and the party leader of ODM.
But
I want to explain something to you.
He's retiring as a president.
Yeah, he's not retiring as a party leader of Jubilee. So I want to explain to you something, that part of the problems that we experienced in the NASA coalition was because there was a very large power dynamic. The differences between the political parties was too big, that in fact, you look at political parties such as Ford Kenya with only one senator, and they want to talk and be taken as if they are equals to a political party with 20 senators. And that power dynamic is going to be resolved by actually having a coalition agreement with somebody who is an actual equal. In this particular instance, we are going to have a party leader on the other side, in Jubilee, who can actually be taken as an equal to our party leader, because he's the president. He commands a lot of respect. And even when my sister Alice says that Jubilee is dead as a dodo, at the back of her mind, in her soul of souls, she knows that President Uhuru is still very well revered within places like Mount Kenya, for instance, and his voice is going to be something that people listen to, even going
It's
forward.
interesting that you should say that, because that is also in contest among some of the leaders in the Mount Kenya region.
That's what I'm saying, but we know for a fact that the president still is going to have a voice.
Okay.
So for us, really, this coalition is not for now, Manzo. There's nothing we want. We don't want to be given a leader of what in the assembly or this and that, the way that you have done with your cooperation agreement. For us, we want a coalition agreement, and we have checked some. Because when you go into a marriage, you must undertake some background checks for your potential spouse. And we've been assured, and my brother is here, he can tell us, that Jubilee, there's no ring on Jubilee's finger. We are the ones who are going to put that ring there. So that these other people who want to cling to...
Okay, all right. Honorable Manzo, is it true?
No, they are not welcome.
Just a moment. Honorable Manzo, is it true that you are land speculators within the Jubilee Party? And where does this leave Wiper as a party and the One Kenya Alliance moving forward?
I think ODM is more speculative than any of us. The speculation is clearly that there's nothing much to gain from the already exiting Jubilee. And I'm very surprised by the great Secretary General of ODM. A party I have a lot of respect for, and I have a lot of respect for their party leader for what he's done for this country. And I'm also asking them at the same time to reciprocate respect and trust, because that's where the problem is. In Makueni constituency, in the last election, we voted Honorable Raila Odinga a higher percentage than it was ever done in Nyanza or even in Western Kenya. And I'm surprised now when all that is paid with abuses and as if we never supported Raila Odinga, although everyone knows what we did for them. But for now, we have decided to be futuristic. The truth of the matter is ODM on its own, or ODM with the Jubilee only, will not have enough numbers to form any government. And I'm very sure 2022 there will be more coalitions be formed, just as we have seen the case in Israel. And most probably, in my own opinion, and this is with a lot of respect, I think now ODM is losing greatly in many parts of the country. And by losing some of the great supports from Kenyans, and by the way it is handling Kenyans, it's going to lose more and more. And I don't think we'll be able to form
he claims that
as ODM
ended the marriage on the 30th of January 2018.
I don't think that is the case, and they know what happened. It was They told the rest of the party leaders to wait at a certain point. They will be communicating. And the next thing you see, they are already on the field and accusing us of not joining them.
Well, I would not want to reopen that, but what's said that...
Kalonzo has already owned up and he said he didn't attend because he was senior counsel, he couldn't attend an unconstitutional event.
Okay, all right, let's move on.
And I don't think they will be very honest on that particular day.
Okay, Joint Secretary, when you look at this and reflect on the political parties, some have called it political party hygiene in this country. I know in 2013 you ran for office on ODM ticket, then come 2017 you shifted to Jubilee, and now Jubilee is coming back to ODM, or rather joining hands with ODM. What is your reflection about the essence of political parties in this country and the principles that define them? Is it just about clinching power, forming a vehicle that you take you to clinch power, or are there real issues that define these political parties?
I think that's a good question. But before that, I answer that good question. First of all, I think my party has been a subject of discussion between Alice, who is a member of, technically, who is a member of...
no, you are out. No, we can't sit there and cry.
It's okay, let him respond.
I think let me go on record and say this. For those who are a bit assumptuous and saying that Jubilee is dead, I think they'll be surprised. Jubilee is not dead.
Yeah.
Two, for those who are assuming that President Uhuru Kenyatta, because his term as a president is coming to an end, he will not play a key role, I think they'll also be in for a surprise. Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is not in parliament. He's not the head of government. And he's the head of a very, very, very strong party. Honorable Kalonzo is not in parliament, and he's the head of a very important party. However, to that end, for those who are assuming that because the president's term is coming to an end, Jubilee will end, and the president's influence will end, I think they'll be sorry. And I think we just need to reflect on one reality. Even before you look at the current political parties as they exist, they have their own strongholds. And if you look at the strongholds, it is London with regionalism, a bit of tribalism. You know, that is the reality. That is part, and that is one.
Is it a bad thing?
No, no, it's not a bad thing. But we need to escalate that to ideology now. Instead of having parties, tribal parties or regional parties, we need to have national parties, just like the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, that look at the general expectation of the people of Kenya, bring an ideological platform, and have something that captures the aspiration of every Kenyan without their tribal, regional, or religious affiliation.
Is it possible to capture the aspirations of every region of this country in a political party?
You can have sweeping statements that can be translated into practical statements by those who form government. But ideally, these are ideas. That's what I call idealism. These are ideas, and it's ideas that lead to real things. So that being the case, what we in Jubilee are doing, and what we have done in the past, and for some of us who have been around, who have seen different elections since the advent of multipartyism, I think I'll not be surprised. The quest for parties actually to form government is laden with one reality, that there is no single party from one particular region or ethnic group that can purport to form or win election on its own. That is why at the end of every term, there has been formations, new formations, whether they are tribal, whether they are regional, whether they are ideological. So right now what we are doing, the term is almost coming to an end. And I think there's one reality that's shaped by February. That is the time when public servants are expected to resign. That is the time when really campaigns will also start. And therefore, it's a countdown actually to the end of that particular term, and you will see a lot of new things. Disregard for existing coalition agreements, formation of new parties, coalition agreement, all these things now will come to the foreplay. Now, the question that you have asked me, and I said it will be a fallacy to assume President Uhuru Kenyatta will not play a very influential role in the next general election. I think those who have that assumption will be surprised.
That's what I'm asking, Honorable Kenan. The interests of your region, if you're talking about the northeastern region, are completely different from those of Nyanza region. So is it possible to come up with a national party that captures all those interests and push for them?
Yes, absolutely. The national parties I'm talking about is Jubilee is a national party, ODM is a national party. I was a vice chairman of ODM, national vice chairman of ODM, and I know. I was also a founder member. You see, the reality is, once upon a time we had the NDP Kanu merger, which I was also a member. The circumstances changed. We had the NAP formation. We had different composition. We had what led to, the 2005 referendum, and what came about the ODM and other groups, PNU and this.
Okay.
We had again 2013, URP, TNA. Right now, the circumstances are again ripe for formation of new coalitions. And that is why I think I said people should not be scared.
Okay.
Let me put this on record. We as Jubilee are desirous of having, just like we have had another handshake, of escalating the same cooperation that we have had in Parliament and outside Parliament with ODM into a coalition. The same cooperation that we have had with WIBA and other like-minded parties, we are willing as Jubilee and ready to escalate the same into a coalition.
Okay.
And that can contribute.
All right, Honorable Kenan. Honorable Wahome, please respond to that because every 5 years, new political formations are coming on board, new political parties are forming, and now what assurance do you have that UDA will survive the next 5 and then 10 years?
You see, those who really were in Jubilee are very sad. Those who know now there is no Jubilee the way it was meant to be, the way it was worked. And Kenan, as one of those architects, I don't think he's also very happy with the collapse of Jubilee. Because, what is the point of building a home, investing so much sum, including using taxpayers' money, and then you start demolishing? Because what we've done in Jubilee actually is very sad. ODM is a bit better, even if their coalition, the NASA coalition is collapsing. But ODM as a party have managed to really remain as a party. But Jubilee, although they are a major contributory, ODM is a major, this is the adulterous either wife or husband who has come into Jubilee and caused all this havoc. It's okay. We are not really, I don't think it makes sense to continue whining.
Okay.
And if you sit there and wait for a party to be formed, then you come in, you have a problem. It is possible. It is possible to capture the ideals. I think that's the question you are asking, of Kenyans within a political party, recognizing, but then recognize the diversities of the areas, the regions they come from, and appreciate and work around those diversities. It is possible, and that's what UDA is going to do.
Okay.
And some...
Let's make progress and talk about something
Can
that...
I respond to...
You will as you respond to the next topic, which is about...
no, but I wanted to just make have a minute on assuming Uhuru will not play a role. Nobody has said he will not play a role, and in fact, we are happy to work with him around wherever he will be.
All right, Honorable Wahome. There's a requirement of Section 22 of the Elections Act that members of county assemblies and members of parliament, that is both at the Senate and the National Assembly, required to have a university degree recognized in Kenya for them to run. But there are those that say that it should not come to effect. But this is just a look at the degrees that we have in the country. According to the census of 2019, only 1.25 million people had degrees. Mid-level colleges, there are 2.6 million. Secondary education, those that completed the education at that level are 8.8 million. Those that concluded the education at 18 million were, at primary level were 18 million, and there are 16,802 adult basic education graduates, and there are people that have no formal education, 3.3 million. But it gets interesting when you have to focus about the split between rural Kenya and urban Kenya. Of course, urban Kenya has more degrees than the rural Kenya, so those are the numbers. You obviously see that the higher education is more prominent in the urban areas. Then it gets more interesting when you get to the counties. Tana River, for instance, has only 1,432 people with a university degree. Lamu has 1,638, and you see how those figures are playing out, with Garissa having 3,292. Then it gets worse when you get to the counties in the urban areas. They have higher numbers, obviously. 334,000 are in Nairobi. Kiambu, just next to Nairobi, 138,000. Nakuru, 57,798. So you see a pattern where counties that are closer and closer to Nairobi have more degrees. But how about some sub-counties outside Nairobi, Balambala in Garissa, they have only 18 people with a university degree. 13 are men, 5 are women. Kibish, 37, this is in Turkana County, 37 have degrees, 9 of them are women. Tabaj in Wajir, 52 have a degree, 14 are women. Buna in Wajir, only 9 women have degrees, 58 are men. And Lafay, which is in Mandera, 88 people have degrees. Eldas, where Eden Kenan comes from, 88 have degrees, 23 are women. Fafi in Garissa, 20 women, 71 men. And Turkana County, you see there, Turkana North constituency with just about 14 women. So is it fair, therefore, to require that MCAs and MPs, SG Sifuna, require to have degrees?
You know, I think these figures you need to put in
I'm
context.
not so sure,
And I also, I'm not very sure about them, but if we just take the example of Eldas, they said in Eldas there are 88...
it's not true.
It's not true,
That's
I know.
Census of
but
2019.
let's just use... let's just use his figures, and there's a reason I'm using that example of Eldas. How many members of parliament are needed in Eldas? One. How many MCAs are needed in Eldas? In the constituency? How many wards are there, Mheshimiwa?
4.
There are 4. So you are telling me, out of those 88, even if you have, I don't know how many opponents he had in the last election, it is possible for you to meet or have leaders who meet the minimum requirements.
The question
if
is,
you go
Sifuna,
to a county like...
Is it fair to limit leadership
Just a minute.
just those?
Just a minute. It is not about limiting. It is about setting a minimum requirement for you to be able to do your job.
Yes.
Even you, Sam, there is a minimum requirement that is needed from you to be able to sit in that seat. For just about every position in this country, every single position, whether it is leadership, whether it is civil service, whether it is... there has to be a minimum requirement. And the education criteria is not the only requirement, because I've heard other people arguing and saying, oh, you can be a leader without having been educated. That's not the point. The point we're saying is, please have a certain minimum. And this discussion was a very robust discussion. In Parliament, I believe it was the first term of Jubilee, when we had the infamous tyranny of numbers. It was debated very robustly and passed by those numbers. It was very interesting to see the person of Deputy President being the one to now come and claim that, oh, this is something we need to do away with. Yet it was passed with his tacit approval during his first term as Deputy President. So what we want to... the conversation we should have is really, indeed, is it not possible for us to set a certain minimum requirement that requires, that equips someone to be able to do the job? If you look at the job of parliamentarian, we are not saying that that degree is the only thing that will help you do the job. No, but it puts you in a good position for you to be able to do the job. If you take Sifuna, who is, everybody knows I'm a lawyer, and you want to take me to Treasury, for instance, with no knowledge of accounts or background in accounts or anything, and you want me to balance Kenyans' foreign debt, I think you are doing a disservice to the country. Even for those who are educated, we need to be put in the places where we can best serve the country based on the skills that we have.
Okay, Dr. Kenan, you're disputing the figures, but like I said, those are according to the census of 2019, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. If I get any other figures from any other agency, I'll be happy to share them. So what is the reality on the ground, and is it fair? Because, of course, that is the law, the requirement, according to the chairman of IBC, unless you go to court or there's an amendment in Parliament, that is what will be applied in 2022. But is it fair to limit leadership to just those that have gotten that university degree qualification?
I think first, thank you. I think let me go back to the figures first of all. To the best of my recollections, the ones that I know, the graduates that I know from my constituency elders, and I represented in the past the Wajir West also, the list that I have, and I keep the data, are more than 1,800. So that is not true. And that is why we have a problem with the census of 2019. That's why we feel it was cooked. So that does not, I have the list. I have been keeping the data of all those who graduated actually from 1995 to date. The list that I have, not for the larger Wajir West, just for Eldas, the list that I have, over 1,800, those who graduated.
And they all live in Eldas, or some of them have moved out?
All of them come from Eldas. That is their home.
Okay.
So that's one. So that figure is not correct at all. Secondly, let's face the realities. The realities is we have a presidential system. A presidential system that somehow separates the functions of parliament, You know, we used to have the hybrid system, the mongrel system. Right now we have a pure presidential system. Pure presidential system requires parliament to operate independently actually from the executive. And parliament in court meaning also even the county assemblies. This idea of having at least some minimum qualification for a representative, whether a county assembly member or a national member of parliament, has always been on the table. I remember in 2010, we passed the same legislation, and His Excellency President Kibaki, for his own reasons actually, declined actually to assent. So the idea has always been there. And in 2013, when this again came up, we say let's give people time, ample time. Ample time. That ample time was given. Now look at this. Look at Article 1. And I'm sure we have all lawyers here. Article 1 equates representation to our sovereignty. Meaning, a member of parliament is expected to familiarize herself or himself with issues appertaining to representation, budget making, legislation, and oversight. The key medium of instruction here in Kenya is either Kiswahili or English. If you will require an interpreter and you have been elected, because you can be elected without any qualification, and by the grace of God, you are appointed as the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee or the chair of JLAC, and you have never seen inside a class. How will you discharge your function? You will be deceiving yourself, and that is why this timeline is given. People have had time, and I think, let's be fair, we cannot have a banana republic. And I entirely agree with what Sifuna has said. We cannot, there's so many people who have the basic qualifications. This thing has been there. I think let's not politicize popularism.
Okay.
You know, we can always do a lot of things.
Yes.
But because
Can we contribute to the issue?
Right. Honorable Kenan, please, if you have the figures.
My final parting shot on this was
just a moment.
We have devolution.
There's something I want us to look at. That is an amendment that is being proposed by Senator Kipchumba Murkomen. He says that a person is qualified for election as MCA or MP if, quote, this is the amendment, is able to read and write in the English or Kiswahili language, or in the case of a person who is deaf or hard of hearing, is literate in the Kenya Sign Language. So that sort of reduces the qualification, the academic qualification, to just language proficiency. And Honorable Manzo, because you come from Makueni, do you know how many MCAs have degrees or those that don't have in that region? And what is your thinking about the proposed amendment to lower the, or rather, to change the qualification from a degree to just proficiency in English and Swahili?
Yes, there are 30 elected MCAs in Makueni constituency and a few nominated. And the ones who are graduates, out of the 30 is about 10. My only issue with this particular law is that not everyone who has a degree may have interest in politics. So you may find many people who are graduates and they prefer to work in the United Nations and many other, World Bank and the government of Kenya, but not touch politics at all. And that's a right, it's a constitutional right of that particular person not to want to join politics or to want to join politics. So as much as and I'm a graduate myself, and we have a lot of educated people in Makueni. Our schools do very well. Education is the future of this country. But just as President Kibaki did not assent to this law at that particular time, and up to now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has not even enforced it. I think it's something we need a discussion.
Existence only applicable starting next year.
Well, yes, well, it's applicable. It could start next year. But again, the work of Parliament is to make or even amend laws. So I think it's a matter which needs further discussion.
If you had to amend it,
how did he vote? Because the matter was before Parliament.
It was before the Parliament, the last house.
Yes.
So if you were to amend it,
yes,
how would you alter the qualification, the academic qualification?
Well, in my own thinking now, a degree is important. When you look at the work done in Parliament and in the county assemblies, it definitely needs very literate persons. But you'll also find there are very, very talented Kenyans who are literate, not necessarily have a degree, and have the best contributions even on the floor of the House, either in the county assembly or in the National Assembly. And I'll give you, we have a very good example in the National Assembly of quite a number of people who have who are literate, communicate in Kiswahili, like the Honorable Eshomo. She's extremely brilliant in her contributions and captures the aspiration of our people. The question is, what do you do to these people? And from where Honorable Eshomo comes from, if the graduates there want to support her, and they don't want to come into to parliament themselves, or the people there support her, how do you balance that? So I think it is still a moot point.
All right.
We need to take further discussion on this so that we carry all Kenyans on board on this particular issue.
Honorable Alice Wahome, is it any discrimination to have that degree requirement in the law? And the Deputy President said that it's unfair to require that the President and an MCA should have the same qualification. Does that hold water at a time that the country is trying to champion people to go to school and study?
Okay, I personally, I think that the President and the Governor, those are executive, and their running mates are executive positions, and I believe that because they will be dealing with very serious issues, and they are like CEO jobs, I believe the minimum qualification of a degree is critical and is important. So there, we are on that page. On the question of this degree issue for county assembly and members of parliament, I don't support. I don't support because representation, legislative work for those houses is courageous. It's a house. We take responsibility, all of us. And I think those who have, because we don't need 360 degrees if we were to increase the number. Right now we are 349. Assuming even we create 360 constituencies, we have 290 plus those other members. So 349, we don't need 349 degrees for parliament to run. And I know at individual level, you need to be able to contribute. But no business of the House will stop. No legislative work will be affected. And representation in your own constituency, your people have seen other attributes, other abilities that possibly make them elect you and leave a graduate. Because whenever you see somebody who is not a graduate elected, just know there is a graduate who was running with them. And the people prefer that person who is not a graduate. Because
so are you for the amendment? And if yes,
I would support that amendment. I would support that amendment.
The level of just literacy in English or Kiswahili or Kenya language.
I think we may need to just bring it up a bit to at least Form 4 and some college or certificate after that. Some training, some course. And I know there are still a few who don't even have Form 4. I think there are still a few who don't have Form 4. That could be 1 or 2, 3, 4 people. But I think we need to push it to college level. At the MCA levels, there are a few degrees. They are actually, and I don't know how many are there in Murang'a, but I know many of them have gone to school because they have seen that they can be weeded out. They are going to school and they are in the process. So it may not be timely to apply this law in next year, not even 2027. I think it is discriminative because your question was whether it is discriminative. Leadership is not entirely about academic qualification. So I would disagree with my two colleagues.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
If the figures of KNBS census 2019 are to hold 47.5 and only 1.25 have degrees, so you're talking about 46 million people who possibly don't have degrees, or even call them 40 million. Is it fair to lock them out from ever holding any leadership position in this country unless they are...
even as it is without without even those criteria, the minimum requirements being applied, politics is played by a very small percentage of this country. It is not just graduates who feel that they don't want to participate. By the nature of democracy, the electors are always going to be more than the people who actually run. So even if you take the figures of the people who actually presented themselves for elections in 2017, they are a very small percentage of the population. That is just the truth, because as you said, there are people who are not interested at all in politics. And then the question that we must ask ourselves is, how have we made our politics so unattractive to our best talent, even just by gauging by education alone? Because there has to be a conversation on why we are not able, as the political class, to attract the best talent. And the most heartbreaking thing is that, and I've not heard it from many of these members of parliament, is that there are tons and tons of people who have, ascended the very highest levels of education. They hold very stellar qualifications, and they're always calling me and asking me, Sifuna, is there anything I can do, even if it is just sweeping your office? You want to tell me that this person who is willing to sweep an office or to pull mkokoteni in town as a graduate, and you have highlighted many even on your on your station here. There are people who are doing very menial tasks, things they never went to school for, they have the qualifications. You are telling me that person who's willing to come some and just carry your bag when he's a graduate, if given an opportunity in a fair political landscape, he will choose not to be an MCA.
But
if he's willing to sweep the floor.
Maybe
so
Sifuna should tell us, what would we be achieving by just having graduates around?
No. Here's the conversation.
That's a good question.
Here's the conversation we are having. Here's the conversation we are having.
Dr. Kenan, I'm running out of time. Please respond to the question.
Just let me finish. If the conversation is where should that minimum qualification be, that's a good conversation. But to say that there should be no minimum qualification, Mheshimiwa Wahome, is
I said there should be.
That's what I'm saying. So
let's close this.
Even the people who have been elected, even those who want to go into leadership, should be encouraged to equip themselves with the skills that are necessary for them to do the job.
Sifuna, let's close this. Honorable Kenan, there's something you wanted to say.
Now, what I wanted to say is the value in having a minimum qualification. We have devolved so much resources to the 47 counties. It's only fair to have MCAs with minimum qualification.
Okay.
Who can interrogate the huge budgetary allocation that they get. Okay. Because if you say that, then we'll be wasting a lot of resources and leaving everything actually at the convenience of the governor.
So there's a clever governor with a degree, and he has a house there. He knows these people can't read. All he does is just to pass things through.
But you see, Sam, the bad manners in the legislative houses, you know, are even being committed by those who are graduates.
Yes, so that's very learned. Okay, all right. Thank you. Let's take a look at the feedback that has come through. Jenga Wakongo, why should Jubilee Party and ODM Party coalition be viewed as a big betrayal to the people? Why didn't William Ruto see it strange when he folded his party and collapsed it to form Jubilee Party? This is a normal political endeavor. This is meant to empower a democracy. Engineer Lazaro, political parties in Kenya are only vehicles to catch power. Their ideologies mostly based on particular ethnic groups. Strong manifestos are only to attract donation from the West. Okay. J.M. Musoma, ODM has never honored any coalition agreement they had it called ONASA. What guarantee does Jubilee have? Truth be told, anyone planning to work with ODM must first understand the party is politically polygamous. All right. Isaac Puthusi, how old is Jubilee and ODM? Here is UDA, a child, political party shaking dynastical parties. Whoa, okay. Basho Alas, political parties in Kenya are like village kiosks. Every time the economy is bad, the villager blames the customers. Yet client's role is only to buy what he or she needs. Parties in Kenya are formed by tribal kingpins for their region to benefit. We have more than 90 parties. Okay, Omondo Victory. The unity of the Jubilee Party was detrimental to this country, especially on the runaway corruption and premature 2022 campaigns. If anyone or any political arrangement stopped the well-orchestrated plundering of public resources, then it's something to celebrate. And you've heard your view. Thank you so much, Honorable Alice Ohome from Kandara. Sorry.
Can I address that accusation?
Sorry?
Can I address the accusation that...
No, I mean, they just had their say.
Their comments.
Dr. Aidan Kenan from Eldas and also the Joint Secretary of the Jubilee Party, Edwin Sifuna, SG of ODM, and Dan Manzo from Wiper Party, and also the Member of Parliament from Makoni constituency. Asanteni sana for making time for us. And thank you, the viewer. Like I keep saying, it's up to you on these conversations. It's up to you to make a choice, listen to the leaders, but also do your own reading and research so that you're able to make an informed decision on what would be of most essence to your lives come next year. My name is Sam Gituku. Bye for now. Up next is Social Matters this Tuesday.